your brain and your second brain. You have this brain, and then you have your second brain that's your gut. And I thought a lot about this before giving this to you, so I thought it would be interesting to notice how much goes on in our head and that it affects the rest of our body. But first, before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit about what I do and why I chose this. I am a colon hydrotherapist, a nutritional coach, and a reflexologist. And about 29 years ago, I got really sick. I was 22 at the time. And they wanted to do a colon resection and a hysterectomy. And I was living in Houston at the time, and when I moved to San Antonio, we just scheduled the surgery for here, and they said, you know, there's nothing really we can do for you. You need to change your lifestyle, for one thing, and we're just going to do this. Well, at 22, I didn't think that was a very good idea. So I met this woman named Frances Sheldon in San Antonio, and she did something called colonics, and pure herb extracts, and reflexology and massage therapy, and it was very foreign to me. I was like, you want to do what to my what? I don't know anything about that. Why would you do that? But as I got to know her, and I was desperate. And most of us really start seeking things because we don't, we're looking and we're searching for something that's not going to be so offensive, I would imagine. Anyways, she taught me all about colon hydrotherapy and reflexology and herbs and probiotics and things like that. Well, within 18 months, I had endometriosis and first stage cervical cancer. And that's what was going on in my body. There was other things too, but that was the main reason. The endometriosis closed off my bowel. I had all over. And so when they told me that, there was nothing else for them to do, but this lady, Frances Sheldon, helped me with colon hydrotherapy. And so I was so impressed with what that did for me that I wanted to get into this. And so I couldn't believe how something like that could help me, but between diet and proper eating, organic eating, and juicing, and clearing my intestine, and finding out what made me like that, brought me to this. And another thing is, one of the things that people spoke to me about, all the doctors spoke to me about, every woman in my died before they were 56 with some type of cancer. Now that was 28 years ago. Can you only imagine what it is now? And I brought this little chart. I thought this was important. 80% of bowel cancers are found in 2 areas. And I had the areas that were being affected. So I was going into that. And I thought the biggest thing I could do for everybody would be to help everyone that the things that happened to me, I could help my family and help everybody else. I wasn't going to school for this, interestingly enough. I was going to school for interior design. So when my life got stopped, and I am doing an interior design, just something totally different. So, I know it's getting late, so I'm going to make this short, and I will open up. You guys can stop me and ask me questions if you want. In this, the first page, we're talking about complex and hidden brain in the gut. And everybody gets butterflies and cramps in their stomach and things like that. And isn't it interesting that we think it's all coming from here, but it's not. The gut actually has a mind of its own, the nervous system, and just like the larger brain in the head, researchers say that the system sends and receives impulses, records experiences, and responds to emotion. Its nerve cells are bathed and influenced by the same neurotransmitters. The gut can upset the brain just as the brain can upset the gut. What I found in my practice, when people come in to me for detoxification, I do a whole history on them, because that history tells me what's going on in their gut. They may not be talking about the gut, they don't know about the gut, but we talk about what's going on in their head too. Why is that so important to me? Because if I don't fix, not that I can fix the head, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but we can certainly find out what's going on in here so we can make this better and make the environment better so this starts getting better. So as you see, this is just a really good article that I thought would be really interesting. One of the areas in the very beginning is says the research for these comment, and this, by the way, I wanted to comment about this. This was written in the New York Times in '96, so more than 12 years ago. And they have been doing studies on the colon and the brain for many years, and there's just something that we don't talk about. People talk more about sex than they do their colons. And, you know, I mean, it's just a fact. And so I'm thinking if we can get our brains healthier, we get our colon healthier, we can get our thinking better. So we won't have all these different diseases of the entire body. We can just start with the colon. And Norman Walker wrote a book called Colon Health, and it's called Colon Health by Norman Walker, and he states that death begins in the colon. Do you have a book?
Somewhere.
Yeah. It's really an interesting book. He wrote this book in, you know, I can't even remember, around the 40s and 50s, I think. Do you know?
I've heard him. I've seen his juicing books.
Yeah, I had the fortune of studying under one of his teachers. And it was amazing what the things that she could share with us and how important it was to keep colon health and proper probiotics, just like we do our dirt. When I was hearing him speak, I was like, hey, that's everything that we have to do in the gut. And so a couple things that I think is, anyways, you guys can read this article. I think you'll find it pretty fascinating. I don't want to go on and on because you guys can read it yourself, but the next section of it is food transit times. So, and the normal Western diet, we actually keep 8 or more, and believe me, being in my practice, it's a whole lot more than 8 meals. But there's 8 meals minimally that actually stays in our gut. So can you imagine how much stuff is stored up in here? And so the food we eat is vital, just like this gentleman was talking about. We need to make sure that we have the proper probiotics, the proper water, the proper oils, and the proper greens. And so if we have a mechanism running or fuel running in our body like that, then we will pass through within a short amount of time. But anyways, as you can see in this diagram, if you can imagine on Saturday eating, I don't know, what is most, is everybody into health in here? Are you eating pretty healthy most of the time? No? No. So what have you found? If you eat something, usually men are so different than women, so this is great for a man. What do you find, what you're eating on Saturday? When do you, tell me about that. As far as, do you eat a hamburger or what do you eat?
Actually, I'm vegetarian, but a lot of soy products, I guess.
Soy products.
Right.
And so do you have to take digestive enzymes along with the soy product?
No, I take a multivitamin and that's about it.
Okay. And anybody a meat eater in here? So meat stays in the body, or it actually goes into the stomach and stays into the intestine well more than 18 hours.
Mine goes through me in 12 hours. It takes longer than 12 hours.
Do you eat organic meat? Okay, so that is the exception. On a typical Western diet, though, and people that eat a lot of hamburgers and fast food, like we have a whole chain in here, I was thinking this is great for Robin. She's pulling in from there. But anyways, that is great because that way you don't have the chance of setting up an acid or an imbalance of acidity in your colon. And that's another thing we look at is pH balancing. So the point is if it's staying in your stomach and small intestine too long, and then it's been getting pushed into the large intestine, which at this end right here where the small intestine is going into the large intestine, it's called chyme. And when chyme sits and ferments and it starts building up into the colon, it brings a lot of acidity if it's too much or if it's fermented and stayed too long. It's a natural response and we want that, but we don't want it to stay there for days and fermenting and then pushing up into the entire intestine and sitting there. How tall are you, sir? How tall are you? 6 foot? So you have 6 foot of large intestine. So, and then times 5 of small intestine. So the reason I'm saying that is, can you only imagine how long, if you ate a poor diet, how long that would stay in that small intestine and then building up into the large intestine and creating either a massive abdomen or fermentation of, no, I mean massive, and creating a dis-ease in the body. So when we can limit the amount of food that's going in, of poor food choices, and allowing more organic foods to set up a good bacteria in there. Excuse me. So you need good bacteria in the small intestine and the large intestine. And so when we eat the proper foods like greens and good proper dairy products, goat products, and wheatgrass and things like that, and juicing, you will set up a good bacteria level in your stomach, small intestine, onto your large intestine. But if we're eating fried foods and lots of dried foods and processed food, you're setting it to be preserved in there and setting an acidic condition where you're setting diseases, a host or a home for disease. So we really want to go into having food no longer than 24 to 48 hours in our system.
You said dry foods?
Well, I should clarify that. Dry foods with a preservative or the sulfates, the unnatural or the preservatives.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can keep our foods in our body, when we can keep our foods continually, eating small meals a day, and keep this process going, we'll have a flatter abdomen, but we'll have a place for a clean body and anchor our bodies through our immune system to fight and work the way it's supposed to. You guys put your stomachs, put your hands together. That's the size of your stomach. So when you open that up like this, you would see that for each person it's different, but the size of their hand is what you should eat per meal. Why is that so important? You cannot digest any more than that amount. That's so important. And so if you're eating smaller amounts of food, that much or smaller, you're going to digest your food more well in the time that you should, instead of allowing it to go right through your system like some people do. They're very acidic, not like you, because that's a good time for me. You want your body to have that much food in your stomach going into your small intestine, into your large intestine, in order to digest things and get out the alimentary canal. So what's really important in that is making sure we have high fiber, we want to have good oils, we want to have an excellent probiotic, and enzymes. Now, in today's time, if we eat really healthy, we have a lot of the enzymes in our food, and so you have a better chance, since you guys are all unhealthy, you have a better chance in making those enzymes with your proper food and food combinations and things like that. But there are times under stress, and when your body is starting to go into detox mode, because every year it does, by the way. Like every spring and fall, you go through a detox. Springtime usually is gallbladder season. And the doctors make a joke about that because I have a couple of doctor friends, and they used to make jokes about that because they know they can get their next whatever they feel like buying because they do so many surgeries on gallbladders. They used to make jokes about that years ago, and I never did understand that, but I have a doctor who was working in my office, and he said, yeah, Susan, we used to joke about that because we would do so many gallbladder surgeries in the springtime. That really was amazing to me. But it all goes back to your body naturally detoxifies in the springtime. We're up on a clock, and our body knows every organ and when for it to detoxify. Okay.
It has to do with the meridian. The spring meridian, 21st of March, and the fall meridian, 21st of September.
I know somebody at my work that's going in for gallbladder surgery.
You usually hear it often. I mean,
and another one actually went to the ER for the same thing, but hasn't had the surgery yet.
Absolutely unnecessary. They can clear it up in
I agree
24
with
hours.
you.
I know.
That's right.
So easy.
It's so easy keeping the body balanced if you know what to do. But a lot of us, like I came from New York, I had no clue what all this was. It was very foreign to me. I didn't want to, I didn't want to talk about that. But the more I ate better, the better my brain got. And the more I cleansed, the better my body and brain got. So it just made sense to me after a while. So I think what I'd like to do is flip to the next couple pages, and I'm just going to make a couple comments. I don't know, do y'all want to hear about this anymore, about like constipation, or is that okay if I talk freely? Yes? Is it okay? Okay. Well, some people get a little offended when you talk about food, so walk at it. I get so excited about this, you guys, because it's just so, you have so much freedom. I mean, we were born to live off the earth. And so I am just so big on eating healthy and eating good foods, and I am so glad you're around to help us to keep our poisons off of us and keep the plants growing. You know, I hear so many people say, oh, our earth is going, you know, all its changes, and I know so many, and it's so nice to meet all of you that you want to take care of our earth and take care of our bodies. So, okay, causes of constipation. Now you guys, I mean, I meet many people who say, I'm not constipated, I go every day, or I go every other day. Well, we need, if we eat this amount of food or more every day, we need to go to the bathroom 3 times a day. So, I'm going to gross you all out. So our bowel movements should be as long as our sigmoid, from here to here. You guys, that's 12 to 18 inches long. So can you only imagine how much stuff is inside of us? So I'm saying that because the next couple of pages, you'll understand why. The causes of constipation are too little of water. I'm going to say water. It says liquid, but it's really water. And the natural herb teas and things like that, and juices are good, but we really need clean water. And how much water should we use? Most of the time, it's half your body weight in ounces. So I've not seen anybody that couldn't use more water, honestly. And there's a couple reasons why we're not absorbing the water. There's an intracellular water and an extracellular water. The intracellular water is the biggest number that we need to look at. Why is that so important? Because our cells need fluids to cleanse and to build. So our gut needs that water, and our body uses at least 60% of water every day. I forgot what the full statistics were, but it was amazing to me on how much water we are supposed to get from our food, which is 60%. And so if we drink water on top of that, then our body's going to be able to filter out and feed the cells and do what it needs to do. That's why they have, there's so many people who are not having enough water in their cells. I know I see Dr. Hernandez and Escobar, and they're all big on water consumption because they can look at your blood and see what's going on. So your body weight should be, your water intake should be half your body weight in ounces of water, and with your food, and with the rest of your drinks. There are cases, medical cases, where you're not supposed to have so many water, and that we take care of in a different level. There's different foods and things like that we take in consideration. But mainly, it's the fluid that goes in can help you with your food digestion, with your elimination, and with your hair and skin. So, okay. The constipating foods, though, are really important, too. The highest one on the list here is cheese. Now, I know goat cheese is fabulous, and I encourage people to have cheese if they have the rest of their diet right. And as you can see, fried foods and white flour, you guys probably know about all this. Wine with meals, and most times the nutritionists tell us to drink the red wine with meals, and I think it's good, and that's an exception. It should be organic wine. And it should be with certain meals and not every food you eat. Coffee. Coffee is a big dehydrator. Doesn't matter whether it's organic or breakfast blend or San Antonio blend or whatever, it dehydrates the body. There are organic coffees that are good. Anytime you have 8 ounces of coffee, you should have 8 ounces or more of water. So if you're going to drink it, make sure you drink your fluid to wash that through. But it is very drying for the colon. Any questions so far? Gas is a huge deal on every age. I don't know that I've seen anybody tell me that they don't have any gas of some kind, and it's a real disturbance. If we have gas, we have things fermenting in our stomach, in our intestines. Because when we belch, we have gas, and when we go the other way, we have gas. But gas isn't really a good thing. We're going to have a little bit of gas just digesting foods like broccoli and cauliflower and things like that. But there's a time for that, and it's usually right after about 20 minutes after eating. We should have a little bit of that just for the food to break down and go into the intestine. A lot of times we can eat certain foods and get gas from, some people will have milk in because they're lactose intolerant. You'll get tremendous gas. If a person is lactose intolerant and they still have milk, they're creating a huge inflammation in their gut. And when you have gas constantly, there's an inflammation in there, and so usually it means there's, not only is the food not breaking down, but we have a probiotic issue. Probiotic issue can go from your stomach all the way down into your intestine. So that's something that's easily remedied if that's all there is. And other times there's a blockage in the gut, and we might have to do some more hydrating and better oils. And your omega oils are amazing. They help a lot, but they again can cause a lot of gas if you don't have the proper enzymes to break them down. Okay. One of the things I really want to touch on with this too is making sure you eat slowly and peacefully. If you can eat peacefully and you're chewing your food, it should be mush by the time it goes into your stomach. And I know a lot of people, including myself, I have to tell myself because I'm so busy doing everything, slow down. Turn music on when you're eating. Don't drink with your meals. Have something very colorful in here. Because if you notice that if you have a dish of food that you like and they have all the proper foods in it, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, you will notice that not only do you sit down and eat your meal in a calmer manner, but you're also going to digest it and not going to get as much gas. Chewing is a really big deal. And drinking with your meals is just an absolute no-no. You wash away your enzymes. I know there's all kinds of theories on it, but I promise you I can see all kinds of stuff coming out of people that shouldn't be coming out of people, whole foods, because they drink with their meals. And usually it's teas and things like that that they're drinking. So it doesn't matter whether it's water or tea or healthy drinks and juices. You should never drink a juice with a meal anyways.
A question.
Yes, sir.
I guess how long should you wait after your meal before you have any liquid?
It's a good question. You should wait at least 45 minutes to an hour. And, you know, I like my patients to wait at least 2 hours before they drink any water after a meal. If they're eating an evening meal, I always ask them to have that a lighter meal anyway, so by the time they go to bed, they can have a little bit something to drink with their supplement or vitamins if they're taking them.
If you're taking vitamins, though, aren't you supposed to take them with the meals? So therefore, you have to have water.
That's some people's thought, yes. And if you are going to do that, then you need to either, like if you're eating applesauce or something like that, you can swallow them with your meal, or just take enough to drink to swallow your meal. To swallow your vitamin. Yeah, you just don't want to drink a bunch of it. And you should always sip your water, by the way. If you're drinking 94 ounces of water, you want to get it all done. Men are so good about drinking water when they come into me, but they're just juggling it down. So if you're sipping your water, you're going to absorb it better in your stomach as well as your small intestine. Okay. One thing that we don't really look at is the endocrine system is really affected by dehydration. And so when you're dehydrated, the entire system gets dehydrated. It's not just your mouth. If you're dry inside your mouth, you're already dry in your whole digestive system. That is a very important fact. So if you're not sipping, and if your skin is dry, then there's other things into that as well, other situations in that. One of the other things with water is you should never drink it out of plastic. Although we have all these plastic bottles, you don't want to store water in plastic. It's a big, big deal, unless it's that proper plastic. So, and actually, you guys, if you leave water in your car and then you drink it, you are getting every bit of that toxicity, and it lands in your cells. It's very difficult to get that out of your body once it's in it. It's a very, I meant to bring my bottles with me so you guys could see them, but it's, do you have the bottles? The safe bottles? Yeah. Anyways, I thought that was a really important thing to, did we have, in the Comal Therapy School, did you get any literature about that? That I might be able to refer to them?
No, but it's the harder plastic.
Yeah, it's numbers.
The polycarbonate?
Yeah, it's polycarbonate. What's the number on it?
1 or 7.
Seven. That's what I thought it was. Anyways, so if you're going to drink water, make sure that it's as clean as you can get and put into that container to drink water. Never, ever leave it in your car. It is I know a lot of my clients, what they want to do is throw a big thing of water in the trunk so that they can keep it and drink. Ooh, toxic, very toxic to do that.
Because the heat makes
The
it.
heat makes it, and it doesn't matter whether it's the winter, it's being stored. It's already been stored in the car, in the store.
Right.
So, really important.
Kind of stuck there because there was just a study out about how all these, pharmaceuticals are ending up on our water supply.
I know,
So-
estrogen, but you know what, you guys, they've always had that. Our water has always been pretty toxic, to be honest with you. I can remember when I moved in Atkins, Texas, and this was, it was 23 or 25. And in my water bill, I got a little, you know how they give you little newsletters? And in that water bill, and I had small children at the time, in that water bill, or newsletter, it said, do not allow the elderly, newborn babies or infants, anybody with immune disorders drink this water.
Especially in Atkins, Texas.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, there's high densities of gas molecules in that water. And you can literally, if you set it on the table, it's not just the chlorine gassing off, but actual methane in Atkins, Texas. I know that.
It is. And we have all those gases in our body, but they're natural gases that we have in our system. We don't need the toxic gas in there. So it's important to drink water, and it's important to have the proper kind of water. And, I don't know what to say about drinking clean water and making sure that it's clean and all that. We do our best. So I don't want to skip it, but I do want to make sure I emphasize it. We need lots of water and
I live
hydration.
up at the lake, and when you get there, it smells. I don't know what's in it, but so I try to buy the, bottled water over at Walmart, but what do you get in the same bad
Get
water?
a filter,
Reverse
you're much
osmosis.
better
Yeah.
off with filtered water.
I was going to say the
Say
same.
what?
You're much better off with filtered water. Get a filter
Reverse
of
osmosis.
pure,
Yeah.
reverse osmosis is the best.
But
If you can't afford that,
It's $150
Pure
at
or
Walmart,
Brita.
Sam's.
Yeah, I was going
It's
to say.
150, yeah, and it lasts a few years and then.
what is it now?
A reverse osmosis system, you can get them at Sam's.
What is it?
It filters water.
Standalone,
Mhm.
standalone thing, huh?
Yeah, you hook it into your faucet at the kitchen sink.
Oh, I see, and just, okay.
And that's the best way to, that's really the only way, and then fill up your water bottles.
it's the only thing that takes out the say it today. Anyway, there are certain things that are.
Cleans the water.
Yeah, it cleans the water, sparkling clean.
90,
And 9.9, yeah.
or 90. So a total difference in my water when I lived out in Atkins and when I moved to San Antonio, or you guys, I bought a home, I put a reverse osmosis in, and the kids said, I'm not drinking it, it tastes funny. I said, oh yes, you're not. That was so funny, it's like a it's clean. They said the same thing about organic meat, it cracks me up. It's like, Mom, it tastes funny.
Because it doesn't have all the chemicals in it.
Yeah.
Hormones,
Those are tasty chemicals.
pesticides.
We used to go out in Atkins and there was methane holes. You could literally set the ground on fire. Literally. There are methane holes and that's why it's all in the water.
We lived not too far away from the feedlots,
Yeah.
and it was incredible. It was awful.
Let's go with the storing and drinking water in polycarbonate versus polyethylene. What were you
I'm not saying to store it in though. I'm putting it in there to drink it daily. Using your reverse osmosis water, putting it into that to drink it. Never keep it in there for more than, I think it's 24 hours. You know, it's in the 24 hours. And you can
Which bottle? Carbonate or polyethylene?
polycarbonate.
Stainless steel too.
Yeah, and stainless steel, thank you. That's
And
exactly.
glass.
You what?
In glass.
I save my glass, like tea bottles, and just refill them. Filtered water from home.
That's great. That's really, I like the glass idea better, but a lot of people that are traveling or have children, you can't use the glass. Unless you do that, that's a great idea, by the way.
Some of the
Then
old
they come
Farmers
in.
bottles are glass inside
Yep.
steel container.
See, they had the right idea long
Which
ago,
ones?
didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know why we had to get so smart. Develop into other things. And the next, On the next couple pages, you guys, I'd like you just to look at that, but I'm gonna comment a couple things on it. I have your what to eat while cleansing and the food combining. Well, they're two and the same really, except for I don't want a person to eat heavy amounts of food during cleansing time, or if you want your body to naturally cleanse, whether you do colon therapy or not. I didn't want to come here and just talk about colon hydrotherapy because some people choose not to do that, but you still cleanse your body moderately with doing proper eating and colon cleansing products. It's not a complete cleanse, but it's a very effective way to do this. So while a person wants to cleanse, whether it's through a product or colon hydrotherapy, I give them this chart as an example and tell them that alkalining your body is what's very important for you to do while you're cleansing. Some of us, we have a high pH, a high acidity level, just like our third. It's really important to keep that level. And I think if you guys leave here with one thing, it's remembering not to have your body stay acidic. Because acidic bodies develop diseases in that. Very, very important. So you can eat clean and alkaline and keep your body healthier forever. We should live to be 120 years old. And so if we're going to live to be 120 years old, we want to keep it as beautiful as we can. Any comments on that? Any questions? So the food combining, again, why I put that in there is
I had a question. So which, you said not high acidity, is there like a certain pH level you should be aiming for, or
7.5.
7.5? Thank you.
Your body's constantly swinging depending on what foods you eat. If you eat meat, it may go down into the 5s, but it's going to bounce right back, assuming everything else. You got equalization that the body's constantly trying to do. And if you're always eating an acid diet, stays down there.
Okay.
So there's a 2-hour lecture on pH.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, please. I thought you said you just did it. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating though. You'd be amazed in what you can help with your body's pH and cure yourself of many problems. And the next page is that there's a vital broth and different foods that help cleanse the body. And I thought that would be interesting since you guys are all into plants and all of that. So this vital broth is really important because during a fast, it's perfect for fasting time. And it's really, really, really good when a person is sick. The minerals in it help the system detoxify on a cellular level. It tastes very good. Well, let's say it tastes good to me. I said that to somebody and they said, Susan, you like to eat rocks and leaves, so anything would taste good to you. It doesn't taste like rocks and leaves, but it really is tasty, and you can add herbs to it if you want to, but this is just an added bonus as far as going on a fast. I think it's really good if you want to just do it raw. And then the rest of this is just good information. And also, if anybody wants to know anything more about colon therapy, there's at the very end of it, there's benefits that if you have any questions, feel free after you read them to talk to me about it or ask questions. I'd love to answer them. Okay?
If you do an enema, how much of the intestine would be covered through that process?
Mm-hmm. Excellent question. Excellent question. So if you do an enema, it depends what kind of enema. Like a fleet enema or a regular enema.
A regular hot,
Yeah.
warm water, herbal tea or whatever.
Are you using a regular enema bucket or a little enema tube, or what are you using when you're asking me that question?
Hot water bag.
Hot water bag? Okay. It feels like it's going further, but it gets up to this point, which is a signal. Okay, now it does feel like it's getting up in here, and if you move around and do all these gyrations, you can get it up further. The best way to give yourself an enema, though, is with a French tube, and they're sold at medical supply houses, and they're this long, and you should be able to put that in 12 to 18 inches long. That is the best way to do an enema. If you know your body, and if you are gentle with yourself, you're not going to hurt yourself with that. This tube, I wish I would have brought one along. This tube is very pliable. It has 2 small holes in it. This gentle flow of water that goes up into you can get all into the haustras of the bowel and soak in there, and your peristalsis can move it out. So that's the best way to give yourself an enema. But
Where do
the
you get
normal,
that- Where do you get that French tube?
you can buy them at, it's a full enema, it's a disposable enema bag, and it has that long tube on it. You can buy them at my office or some of the medical supply houses. And they're called enema bags, disposable enema bags in buckets.
And how much of the intestinal area is covered with that one? The entire thing?
No, you're getting up to the splenic flexion, which is about this far. But you still can do a lot. You don't really want to invade with an enema. You don't want to invade anything else. And you should always, 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 always use boiled water or distilled water. Never tap water. It kills, chlorine kills bacteria. And after you're finished doing an enema, make sure you replace some probiotics and minerals. Always. Even if you just do an enema. Every day, every time you have to do an enema, take your probiotics and minerals.
When you do a hydrotherapy session, do you infuse probiotics that way as well?
If a doctor gives me a prescription.
And what kind of probiotics do you use for that?
I use probiotic 11 from Nature's Sunshine.
Okay.
I use Metagenics Ultradophilus because I found those are the strongest in the staining in the gut. And I also use some electrolytes.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the individual though. Some of them have environments. Some of them, it's like they never had good bacteria in their body.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times if people eat food and it goes right through them, they are good bacteria
Deficient.
deficient. Totally. So serious, serious things, you guys. I cannot even emphasize that enough. Bacteria levels will stay like that for a long time in the system and you won't know it. So it's really important to eat grains and really important to take probiotics. You gotta be careful what companies that you buy from. Robin can tell you about that. You want to make sure they're fresh and you want to make sure that they are safe refrigerated and you should never leave them in a container outside over 75 degrees. They die very quickly, so it's a useless product. And you're spending a lot of money on probiotics. And so I'm not so sure all of the ones on the market are very fair to us because they're usually dead. So do your research on that.
What about candidium and other fungi in the bowel?
What about that?
I read a lot, especially women with problems with fungus in their intestinal system, digestive systems. How big a problem is it? How often do you see that as a bigger problem than bacteria?
It's huge for certain women that have had other health issues. And sometimes if they eat a lot of sugar, it stays in their body. So usually I send them to a naturopath or someone that can watch them, because it does take several colon hydrotherapies. It can take up to, it can be 15, 20 sessions of colon therapy, depending on why they have that in their system. It's usually, there's other problems that cause that to begin with. They're usually full of parasites of some kind.
I did a body flush in October, or late September, and flushed out a huge amount of fungus, as well as the parasites at the same time. And felt great a couple of months after that. It was really good.
Redo it every 90 days until we know about that.
Right.
And you know what's interesting about it, some people like, see, I have a child that had that, and she got rid of that so fast. She's doing well. We actually had to do colon hydrotherapy. The doctor recommended us to do that. We did, took her off of all sugar. She started eating sugar again. Anyways, we went through a course of this. We did 2 treatments of this, and she was off of the sugar. She started eating sugar when she went back into school. It hit her even harder. And what the doctor didn't know is that she had parasites in there. That's not one thing that he looked at, because he didn't think that she would be bothered by that, because the environment wasn't allowed to, so on. But once they treated her for parasites, she didn't have that back again, but she stayed off of sugar too.
Parasite, and I do a parasite deparasitation once a month.
Oh, it's good.
And the Japanese do it once a year when their children in their school. The more you read about the cultures around the world, they're more into deparasitizing the body than we are. And I usually do it once a month, just with raw pumpkin seed. So I decided to do more than that this time around, and I couldn't believe the amount of parasites that came out.
Like you were saying with the different products that you use for different bugs, it's the same thing, different foods kill different bugs in the water.
You mentioned electrolytes. What do you recommend for getting the right amount?
You know, I'm real simple-minded. I use trace minerals. It's a product called Trace Minerals. Do you have that? I use that one because it's simple, it's quick, it goes immediately into the system. And that's what a lot of my doctors like to use because of how fast it enters in. I mean, I can actually see the difference in a person within 10 minutes of giving them electrolytes. I use it in water always, never take it straight.
Have you ever bought the water that has the electrolytes in it?
Yes, I have. It still doesn't do the job.
It doesn't.
And I don't know where those electrolytes, I mean, I'm just being honest with you, I don't know where those electrolytes have been, and I don't know where that water's been, so I don't trust that as much as I do if we add it to our water.
Trace Minerals also has one called electrolyte status. Do you use that?
I don't use that in there, but I do tell my people about it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Do you still have to have a prescription to
Always.
get? And how does it work for malabsorption? You know, as far as if you're not able to absorb nutrients and things,
How does what work for cold?
do the colonics help with, you know, the problem with that?
In my, and it is just my opinion, and I worked with a couple doctors that we've worked with patients like that. We have seen, I never saw a cure for that, Susan, I can't tell you that I have, but I see that the person gained their weight back, or they balanced their weight, and their skin was better. And so we've seen absorption symptoms come back, like they are, not symptoms, we've seen a result in that. And so I can tell you that it didn't take it away completely because I'm told by doctors that you can never take that away. In my opinion, we've arrested. And so, and they could eat full meals, they didn't bloat anymore, they had digestion reactive in their system. Their stool was a proper color. And I noticed that with people with malabsorption, their stool is extremely dry, and sometimes it has, it's very sticky. So it depends on their fat absorption as well as the nutrition, the recipe of nutrition. So,
I think I'm also referring to like leaky gut.
yes, leaky gut is so simple. So, cleaning, when you clean the gut and you let that environment build back up, good environment build back up, leaky gut just disappears. Leaky gut is because you have toxins in the lining, and all through the hall scrolls, and all through the villi, all flatten down in the small intestine. It starts in your stomach, actually it starts in your mouth. So if you can get that bacteria built up in an environment good in your gut, you will no longer have leaky gut.
Do you recommend hydrotherapy for somebody with Crohn's disease?
In the very, very, very beginning stages, and only medical doctor recommends it.
Okay. What about if they're not able to? I guess what else would you recommend for Crohn's?
Diet.
Diet? Okay.
Extremely clean diet, a peaceful life. I mean, they should not have any stress. They should do they should do psychotherapy. They should do many different things. But the biggest is they need their brain filtered. They need, again, good flora. I mean, I keep saying that. They need really a lot of proper eating and gentleness in their life. I see a lot of young people with Crohn's disease. I do not take Crohn's disease patients, by the way. I always refer them out to Dr. Esquivel or Dr. Cohen, and we work with that with nutrition. Because the medical doctors I work with, they don't know enough about that for them to comfortably write a prescription on it.
Are you saying that your therapy now, you have to have a doctor's prescription?
Yes, ma'am.
To have what you are doing?
You have to have a prescription for
From
colon.
what type of doctor?
A medical doctor, a Texas medical doctor.
They don't have any places down in San Antonio that has the colonic, do colonic?
I wouldn't tell you that, they do. But by law, you need a a medical prescription.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. It is against the law to do it without that.
I had one done many years ago, but then back those days, everything changed now.
Well, I've been doing this for well over 28 years. It's amazing what's changed in our industry.
But you don't find a lot of medical doctors though that prescribe this type of thing.
I have so many of them, it's just
Really?
yeah, in fact, I just got a new one today, and he first told me.
Alternative doctors then?
No, it's a medical doctor. He's a medical regular internist, and I have cardiologists, I have gastroenterologists, I have a psychiatrist,
I got my dentist to do one.
and my dentist, yes.
But they go, they're actually alternative doctors though?
Nope.
then,
No.
So to
No,
speak.
they're doctors that are aware, and they're really wanting to hear their patient's view and what's best for their patient.
Most
So
of them.
I
If
really
we wanted
wanted
to come to get a colonic, what's our first step? We have to go find a doctor to.
Well, just a second, Robin, I'm just gonna correct you. I don't do a colonic, I do colon hydrotherapy, and the only reason I'm correcting you is because it is different, because doctors get real alarmed with colonic, because usually it's unfiltered water. It's unfiltered water, it's done a little bit more in a harsher manner. And that's really all I'm gonna say about a colonic. I'd rather talk about the positive about it. The colon hydrotherapy is what it is. It's therapy. It's a quarter PSI to 2 PSI of a gentle flow of water that goes into the intestine. It is not blowing up the gut and emptying it out, blowing up the gut and emptying it out. It goes along with your rhythm, with the gentle massaging of the water that goes all the way up into the gut, all the way in and out again. It goes with your rhythm so that your peristalsis can indeed clear it out. Okay, so it is a hydrotherapy. And it's done in less than 35 to 45 minutes. Should never be done more than that. Studies show that after 45 minutes, we actually deplete the bowel of electrolytes.
Okay. So we need a prescription for that.
Yes, and it should, most doctors put PRN, and it's good for a year.
You mentioned Hernandez a couple of times, the birthing people do.
No. But he's one of the doctors that does alternative health, and he prescribes a lot of these different nutrients, and he understands what the body needs for that. I don't recommend him, and I'm not saying that he recommends me. I'm just saying he was one of the doctors that did a lot of speaking, detoxification, and building up the system.
I've seen a lot of people with Hernandez. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, it's amazing at how many MDs really are in San Antonio that are alternative. So I applaud them because they're taking a big chance. They don't care about the ridicule. Dr. Hernandez is big in that. He stands on his own.
Who is this doctor that you're talking about?
One of the doctors, Dr. John Hernandez. John Hernandez. He's a medical doctor on Thousand Oaks, isn't he, on Thousand Oaks?
I think that's what he's at.
Yeah.
Spell the last name.
H-E-R.
H-E-R-N-A-N.
N-A-N. Mm-hmm. Easy.
D-E-Z.
D-E-D.
Easy.
Oh, G-E-Z?
And you mentioned Dr. Cohen too.
Dr.
Cohen,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, I've been to Dr.
Dr. Cohen and Dr. Esquivel. I really appreciate Dr. Esquivel. He used to work with Dr. Cohen years ago. He's still a medical doctor and still very much in the medical business. He's you call Doc in the Box? What do you call it? Emergency. Emergency, what do you call his little?
Minor
Yeah.
clinic.
He's big in that, but I'll tell you, he is so funny because he'll tell people about all this homeopathy if they'll ask for it. And he tells them, here's my number. There's other things you can do. He's a real hoot.
Can a chiropractor write a prescription for this?
No. If you want it, fine. Not in Texas, right?
In Washington State, but not
Yeah.
in Texas.
In Florida.
In Florida, yes. There's a,
In California, which was a real shock to us
Backwards.
Yeah. When I was going to school in California, it was really interesting because they were really pushing license. I'm thinking, no, what are they going to do? And here in Texas, they come up with having a prescription and licensing and all that. So, but it's really good. I mean, it brings more credibility to our work, and people that are real serious about colon health can get proper work done and help themselves. And you shouldn't have to get colon therapy forever. It should be a seasonal thing. It should be when the body is traumatized, when the body's going through an allergy issue. Sometimes we do anywhere from 10, 15 colon therapy sessions to 50. It just depends on the individual and how many months, years that it takes to do that. So I really promote eating properly, hydrating, giving yourself good oils, and helping your body cleanse itself.
How does,
Peggy, I'm sorry, she's been raising her
well,
hand.
that's fine.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that my husband and I have been to Susan's Center, and it's like going to a spa. It's wonderful, it's relaxing, and she saved our lives. She really did.
I give the glory to Peggy, because without God in my life and the wisdom to know those things, I mean, really, it's Him working through that. So thank you. That's very sweet of you. I don't know if any of these folks, do they know Michelle Hart?
Well, they came, those two may have come too.
Michelle Hart does the thermography.
Did I come to the thermography class that I have here?
It doesn't matter, never mind.
Oh.
You talk, it's okay. What working? Never mind, I was just gonna tell you someone else.
We're actually
that
gonna have
was
Michelle
about-
talk later.
Yes, we have.
In a year.
And, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Hydrotherapy for a patient with a yeast infection, does that help any, or?
Huge, yes, it's huge. It helps, again, the probiotics build up on its own in the bowel. You clean the system out, and it helps promote the good bacteria that you need. So it stops yeast from continually growing. We also do a lot of dietary issues with that, and again, implants.
Thank you.
What about children?
As far as colon hydrotherapy, we do that. I really promote a lot of dietary things with children. If they have a blockage, or we can't do dietary things and castor packs and sitting on the potty, we're going to send all these around if you guys would like them. If I can teach them by those means first, then I do. If not, usually about 5 or 6 colon therapy sessions with a child, and after they've done that and changed their diet, they're good to go, literally.
Kids respond so much faster.
They do. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the children that I see they have increases, and they have emotional problems anyways. So I work with their doctor with that, and diet with their nutritionist. I always send them on to a nutritionist. It's really big to do. I will coach them, but if they have this issue that needs a lot of one-on-one, I will send them to a nutritionist that they can hook up with.
Would you talk about allergies some? You were talking about for the treatment of allergies. I've seen food allergies say that maybe it's been caused by, say, antibiotics.
Every time that there's an allergen or food that a person is reacted to, it's because there is something in your gut that's stored. And so when it's stored in your gut, this is one of the main areas right in here and here that reabsorbs back into the blood system. So when it does that, it creates ill effect into the system. So it again, breeds bad bacteria, and we have lots of bacteria issues in here. We need good flora in here, just like we do the gut. So when the gut is full, when there's an issue in the gut, you will always have an allergy or allergen issues. So how do you remedy that? Clean the gut, and increase probiotics, increase enzymes. Enzymes are really big in that.
How do you use reflexology? How does that tie into colon hydrotherapy?
Reflexology, I use that actually during the colon therapy session. And the reason I do that, now everybody doesn't do that. I just choose to do that because it helps stimulate the organs to clear. It helps the body to relax, the lymph system to open up. And when we open up the colon, the lymph empties. And so when the lymph can empty, all the rest of the organs follow suit, all the digestive organs follow suit. It's amazing. As I'm working on the person and as their circulation is moving, their body responds. We joke a lot about that. Because I can work on some people, I was just doing my normal thing, and once I touch their feet or their leg or reflex areas, they're cooking.
I need to cut off the questions because we need to let Robin go on too. But thank you very much. This has been great talk.